Hi, it's Tanya and welcome to this tutorial that I'm going to do today for you. So this is specifically if you are practicing yoga. So we're going to go through the pyramid pose, and this is quite challenging if you haven't got long hamstrings. Like I don't have particularly long hamstrings or flexible hamstrings at the back of the legs. So what we're going to do is actually use some blocks. Now, what I want to say about the blocks is people don't like using blocks because they think it means that they're not good or they can't do yoga. Blocks actually helps when it comes to lever length. So some people have got really long legs and short arms, and there's no way they can reach the floor. So it actually just gives the arms a few lengths. Perhaps your body's quite short or quite long, and blocks can help you get into a position better. So try not to think of blocks as, oh, I'm not using a block because that means I'm not very good. It's got absolutely nothing to do with it. It's to help your alignment be in a better position. So with pyramid pose, whatever way your feet point, especially your back foot, is going to dictate which way your hips are pointing. So let's say, I'm going to turn slight angle here. So if my back foot is turned out, you can see this back hip is rolling towards that way a little bit. If the back foot is pointing there, so now my hips are slightly like towards you, and if my back foot is pointing towards the other one, then my hips are pointing there. So my front foot hasn't changed at all. It's all been dictated by where the back foot is. Okay, so with pyramid pose, we want the back foot pointing in the same direction as the front foot. Okay, so I'm just going to stand in this position here. We want to have a bit of a gap between the legs. So how wide is going to depend on how flexible you are, how wide. Some people can't even get the leg that wide. But what you don't want is it's so wide that you're almost doing the splits. You want to be able to keep that back heel on the floor. Okay, now, for those of you that wear stilettos, you might find that the muscles here are so tight that you can't put your heel on the floor. So then you might find that your heel's slightly off the floor, and that's fine. Okay. Balance. This is also quite a challenge for your balance. So when you come into your pyramid pose, we're in that position. So you can see my toes are in alignment with the hips, so that they're like on railway tracks. Be mindful that you don't take your back foot in line with the front foot. So you can see like you're on a tightrope, then you're wobbly. Now, if you're in that position and it's still quite wobbly, then just widen it, make it a wider railway track. Okay, and then that will just help to stabilize you a bit. But be mindful you don't always make things too easy, otherwise you don't get better at it. So I'm going to have front leg in, left leg in front, right leg at the back. So with pyramid pose, because this back leg is a little bit back, there's a tendency for this hip to swing out as well. So we want to make sure that the hips are pointing forward, okay? And the weight is evenly distributed between the feet. So we're not sinking into the back and we're not into the front. We've got this even spread in the feet. Now, I want you to bring your attention to the front foot. I'm going to bend the back so someone can go. You want to try and put the weight into the front part of your front foot. Almost like you want to lift up that heel. In fact, you can do that and just notice how the calf starts to work in the leg. And then in your back foot, we're trying to spread the weight between the ball of the foot, the outside, and the heel. And then really engage your kneecap so that the thigh is working. Okay? Now have a shoulder roll, and you're going to hug the elbows into the back to start with. Lift your heart, breathe in, and now we're going to hinge. As you hinge, the whole pelvis is going to shift upwards towards the ceiling. So already I'm feeling that in my front leg. And your back wants to be straight, okay? This is where your blocks is going to come in handy. And then your hands will go onto the block. So what we're trying to avoid is this kind of thing going on. Now, if your front leg is ridiculously tight, and I say ridiculously tight, I don't mean that as a negative thing, I just mean if it's so tight, then just have that front knee slightly bent, okay? Now, when you're in this position, we don't want to be hanging on dear life for the blocks. The blocks are just there for support. So now, generally what happens is this hip swings out. So I want you to, if you've got your left leg in front, I want you to pull your left hip back and you pull your right hip forward so that the hips are now facing forward. And you will hopefully feel that a little bit more in that front leg. Sending the weight into the ball of the front foot. Spread the weight evenly between the back and then really engage your knees. The crown of the head is reaching to the wall in front of you. So I want you to, I'm just going to bend so I can lift here. Think of the space between your ribs and your hips. So you're trying to make it longer. So again, no shoulders around the ears. Pull the shoulder blades down the back. And then if you find you have more flexibility, providing you can keep the back straight, you can then take your hands to the floor. You see my back is going to round. And you can take your head towards the knees. But what we're just trying to avoid is this hunching over and squashing yourself. So you want to think of space, always thinking of space. Space between your ribs and your hips, space between your neck and your shoulders. Okay, so, and you can use these blocks. So now you can see the shape. My shape there compared to what I look like when I'm trying to put my hands on the floor. Okay, so all I'm doing is just giving my arms a little bit of length. And then to come out of it, just bend the front leg and bring yourself back up again. So pyramid pose. So whenever your right leg is in front, let's do that one. So right leg in front. I always like to have my fingers on my hips just to start with so I can feel. Have a shoulder roll, squeeze your elbows into your back. Lift the heart first and now we hinge. So we're going to think of your creases of your hips going backwards. Heart stays. Engage the front foot and the front knee and then bring the hands to the floor. Okay, so now, just trying to exaggerate this for you. Pull your left hip forward and your right hip back. And you might feel that a bit more in the front of the leg. So you can probably see that this one for me isn't as straight as the other one. My right leg is tighter. So now what I'm going to do is pull in the tummy. I'm trying to get my hips to go back and the crown of the head to go forward. Weight is in the ball of the front foot to help protect that knee. So if you've got hypermobile knees, I can't do it because I don't have, the knee wants to pop back here and we want to avoid that. So if in doubt, just have a little kink in that bend in the knee. And then bending that and then come back up again. Whew. A nice hamstringy one. I used to hate them. I'm getting better at them as my hamstrings get a bit longer. So that is pyramid pose and hope you enjoyed that little tutorial. Take care.